All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ole Miss After Dark. I'm joined once again here by my main man, Hitch. We are going to take y'all through the weekend sweep of the Eastern Kentucky Colonels. Ole Miss makes it into the top 25 for the first time this year, according to D1 Baseball, which is the poll I always go by. And then it sets up a big top 25 matchup Tuesday evening at 4 o'clock, first pitch at Swayze Field against Southern Miss, who also entered the top 25. I'm going to take a quick look at Wright State leading into this weekend, the favorites in the Horizon League leading into this league. So it should be at least a pretty decent test. I think Ole Miss should still take care of business there. We'll look at that, and then we'll get into whoever our players of the weekend are. I'll pick one, and Hitch will pick one, just like we did last week. Before we get into all that, Hitch, you doing all right, buddy?
You know, I'm doing pretty good, but when I've noticed that when I'm not here, you have other people on, like the great Zach Moritz or Dalen or one of those guys, one of those guys like you, always give like their credentials, from whatever podcast they're on or whatever they wrote or whatever they've done, and I noticed like you just say, "Hey, how's it going?" Don't introduce me like any credentials.
Yeah, so here today I'm joined by my main man, Hitch. He is a professional garage sitter. Nobody is better in the land than Hitch sitting in the garage. Also co-host of Ole Miss After Dark, and he does a phenomenal job with both of them. So y'all make sure to check out all of Hitch's stuff, his random tweets at around 11:30, 12 o'clock at night while he's doing his garage sitting, and you'll learn a lot about life.
Yeah. Also, the 1987 Steve Lyles Mr. Hustle Award winner as well.
Okay, see, I didn't even know about that one, and I've known you for years, and I didn't know about that one. You were hiding that one. You were hiding that one.
Yeah.
All right, but let's go ahead and get into this. Let's go ahead and get into this sweep here instead of talking about Mr. Lyles there and all the hustle that he had throughout his life and passing it down to you in 1987, apparently. But look, Rebels had a pretty good weekend. It was a team that was clearly overmatched, and you saw it from the jump on Friday night. Hunter Elliott takes the mound, and he was fantastic again in his second start. First time in, I believe I saw almost 700 days that he had pitched a game at Swayze Field, and he was absolutely dynamite. 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned, no walks, 10 strikeouts. I think that was the big thing for him. One thing that kind of, I won't say concerned me. I know it's something we talked about last week with his first start against Arizona was maybe there was a little bit of rust there because of the 3 walks. He was never a guy that walked a whole lot of guys. Well, he sure enough shored that up real quick here on Friday night against an overmatched Eastern Kentucky team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you can get a better line, right?
Yeah.
Or ask for one. He was just sharp the whole time. And I don't know that there were many, if any, competitive at bats against him in his 6 innings, right? He looked like what you want Hunter Elliott to look like going forward, right? Like that's what you expect to see. He was pitching up in the zone with that, I don't know, 90, 92 mile an hour fastball that just, for whatever reason, gets on the hitters quicker than they feel like it would. And, then that changeup, right? He had it working, and it was just a pleasure to watch him pitch, right? Because he just felt in control every pitch of every at bat. And it was like artwork.
Yeah, and the changeup's the big one. Obviously, we know he's got a really good one. That's what he made a living on his freshman year. But I kind of sat back Friday, watched this game, obviously, and watched how he was pitching. And even though I knew what kind of pitch the changeup was, I still caught myself going, "Oh, that's it. That's why nobody can, and that's why nobody can catch up to his fastball because he is so good at tunneling that pitch. It looks just like the fastball coming out of his hands. And then at 76, 77 miles an hour, and they're 2.5, 3 feet in front of it, and there's quite frankly not a damn thing they can do by the time they find out what it is that's actually coming at them. And it seems to be even better He's kind of starting to work in a little bit more off-speed stuff. I think there was one against Arizona. I think he threw 3 this time, something like that. So maybe there's a little more comfort mixing in something else, trying to put in the heads of the batters. But look, when he's locating the fastball and the changeup the way he is right now, and he's even throwing that changeup to left-handed hitters too, right? That's like a cardinal sin in baseball is a lefty not throwing a changeup to a lefty, because they end up running into them, and that's where you give up some really long home runs. And look, he's going to face a lot stiffer competition than Eastern Kentucky as the year goes on. People are going to, try to advance scout him and figure out what he's going to throw and what pitches. But right now, he's between Arizona and Eastern Kentucky. He's had people completely off balance. Changeup looks really good, and it looks like Ole Miss has their Friday night ace back for the first time in a few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, you typically don't throw that changeup to a left-handed guy, but because it just drifts right back into, if you miss with it, right, it drifts right back, right back into where a left-handed guy, low and inside is where he wants it a lot of the times. But you know that Hunter was feeling good because at one point it was early in the game, and he kind of got the ball, got back on the mound. And he did the thing where he did his thumbs behind his ears to get his hair behind it. And then somebody got his attention. And I don't know if it was Furness or somebody in the dugout, but he looked back over that way and you just see him go, it was after a strikeout, and it was just like, it's working. So it was just nice to see him working that way.
Yeah, he had actually made a comment after the game of, it wasn't in a disrespectful manner or anything like that, but it was kind of, you could tell these guys were overmatched and that they didn't really have a whole lot for me. So I was just going out there and filling up the strike zone and just trying to throw strikes and knowing they weren't going to do anything with it. And that's basically exactly what happened. One thing that I think is interesting here, Hitch, and I haven't run this theory by you, so we're going to do this on air. You're hearing it for the very first time, so I can get your God's honest reaction to it, okay? I think even though it's only 2 weeks into the season, we're starting to see a trend with how this coaching staff wants to handle Friday nights. Obviously, you've got your ace, Hunter Elliott, on the mound, but for the second straight weekend, he is relieved by Mason Morris, the other Tupelo native, and Mason goes the distance here, finishes it out, actually picks up a 3-inning save here, goes 3 innings, 1 hit, no earned, no walks, 3 strikeouts. He was just really good for the second straight week. It looks like that's what they want to do here on Friday nights. They want to try to get through the Friday night game with these 2 pitchers. And, boy, if you can do that, it really sets up your bullpen the rest of the way if you're only having to use Hunter Elliott and then what has so far been a pretty dynamic Mason Morris here through 2 games.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to something that we talked about last week with Mason Morris and his ability to go more than a turn through the lineup, right? Last year and in previous years, not to say he couldn't go through more than a turn through the lineup, but a lot of times he relied a lot on that breaking ball. And, once guys have seen that, they've seen it. But now I think we talked about last week, it looks like that fastball has, some more sink to it. And he's throwing harder. I thought it was interesting that I didn't even think about this last week was I heard him say Friday night, I don't remember which one it was, but Mangrum changed his arm slot this summer or last year whenever he came in. And that makes so much sense as far as the sink on the ball and the added velocity that he's got. So a long answer there to say, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with keep going with what works, right? And, if Hunter Elliott gets 6 innings and Mason Morris can come in and get 2 or 3 more innings and then you turn it over to Connor Spence or whatever the case may be, I like the idea of a plan going into a weekend, right? Like these are the guys that we're using in the pen. Now, again, there may be a situation where there's a guy on second and third and a left-handed guy's up and you don't want Mason Morris facing him. So you go and get, one of the other guys, right? whatever.
Ryan
But
Rodriguez or whoever.
yeah, right. But your theory works, right? Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah. So far, it's worked pretty well, and I'm really impressed with the efficiency of those two as well. Hunter Elliott gets through 6 innings with only 78 pitches. Mason Morris, the final three, at only 37 pitches. We threw all 9 innings shutout ball in 115 pitches. And as impressive as that is, it's still not a Greg Maddux, which just tells you exactly how good he was back in the day. But a really stellar performance there. 4 hits, no earns, no walks, 13 strikeouts between those two in the 9 shutout innings. Turn our attention to the offensive side of the ball here real quick. There's some guys I do want to highlight, some guys I thought had big weekends that we needed to have big weekends. We'll go ahead and start with the free space on the bingo card here. Luke Hill is playing out of his mind right now. He's hitting everything that is thrown his way. Ends up going 2 for 4, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, and a walk here in this Friday night game. This Friday night game, though, felt like the start of Mitchell Sanford getting going, a guy that we pointed out last week that, kind of needed to get the bat going, a really good defensive center fielder, right? You need to keep that glove in the lineup, and it's a guy that hit 385 or whatever it was at New Orleans last year. You would think that left-handed bat's going to come around. Ends up 1 for 5 on Friday night, but as we'll get into further into the weekend, it really snowballed for him on Saturday and Sunday. He ended up having a really good weekend overall, but he drove in 2 runs. Isaac Humphries in the 3-hole with a really, really good game offensively here. Goes 0 for 2, but the man walks 3 times and scores a run. A lot of quality at bats. Udermark 1 for 4. Ryan Moorman 0 for 2, but again, 2 walks. We've been very patient up at the plate. Smithwick, another guy that kind of broke out this weekend that we really needed to see. 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a walk. Will Furnace with his first home run of the year goes 2 for 4 with a walk, a run, and an RBI. Just thought overall it was a really, really good job by this offense. Left guys out there, left a lot of opportunities there on base. But when they came over the heart of the plate, they made them pay, and they didn't chase. I think that was the biggest key for me.
Yeah, I thought about this too as far as left on base, because I felt like this. I haven't looked at it, but I felt like this weekend we would have a high number of left on base, and my first thought was, man, that sounds pretty reminiscent of last year. But I think the difference this year is that when we have gotten guys on base, we have gotten timely hits, especially this weekend. What we started we really opened it up in the 5th and 6th there. So I think once we got to that time point in Friday, 5th, 6th inning, right, from there on, it felt like we still had guys on base, but it was because the bases were loaded and we had already scored 3 runs. Or something like that, which is something that you can live with. If you're leaving 3 guys on, but you've scored 4 in the inning, then that's a great inning. And I felt like that from the first weekend last year to this weekend this year, right? It felt like a big difference. And last year, it felt like it was walk, 5 walks in an inning. We'd only scored 1 run because the only run we scored was one that walked around and nobody got a hit. This year it was walk, single, walk, double, right? And so it's a different lineup. This lineup feels a little more complete than last year.
Yeah, and to your point about being left on base, we did end up leaving 10 on base altogether. Campbell, even though he went 2 for 4 on the game, he led the team leaving 6 guys on base. Nobody else left more than 4 of the 10 people left on base. Campbell left on 6 of them. That tells you that the guys in front of him are getting on base. They're doing their job. And even though he went 2 for 4, that tells you how many people were actually on base when you still leave 6.
And he had 3 RBIs. Right. And he had 3 RBIs, right? So 9 people were on base, when I guess bases were loaded 3 times, I guess. I mean, that's what makes sense.
Yeah. really, really had opportunities to have a big game there for him. But again, goes 2 for 4. He had a good weekend. We'll get into the rest of it here in just a minute. Owen Pano really struggled again here on Friday night. Goes over 4, 3 strikeouts, left 2 on base. Just real quick on Owen, Mike talked about during the media days how him and the staff basically take blame for what happened with Smithwick last year behind the plate in particular. They had this highly talented freshman catcher. They didn't go get another one to back him up in case he wasn't able to handle it. Obviously, we know what happened behind the plate last year. Nobody was able to handle it, much less Smithwick. He wasn't the only one. No matter who we put back there, they weren't able to catch the ball. And that was a big problem for us as the year went on. They didn't do that this year. Owen Pano, highest ranked recruit in the class, number 8 freshman to make it to campus according to D1 or Perfect Game, whoever it was that put those rankings out. But they still went out and got Luke Chain as a bit of a safety net there at shortstop. You've got to give Pano enough time to get his feet wet, to get used to the speed of the game at this level, try to get going. But long story short, where I'm trying to go with this is credit to Mike and this coaching staff for identifying the weakness last year, self-scouting and said, we screwed up right here. We're not going to do it again. We've got another highly talented true freshman. True freshmen struggle in the SEC every single year, more time than not. Let's make sure we have a plan behind him. Pano's going to be fine. But if he keeps struggling, and as the weekend went on, he ended up hitting the ball hard 2 or 3 times. I think he's going to come around here soon, hopefully before SEC play starts. But credit to Mike and the guys for bringing in a Luke Chain that can back him up if he isn't able to get it going.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the maybe it was Kessinger said kind of, especially Friday night, was it didn't look like there were any comfortable swings on either side, really until later in the game, and it has felt that way for Pano. Every time he's in the lineup, it doesn't really he doesn't look comfortable, right? But he did on Sunday, right? He didn't even wear sleeves, right? It was 50 degrees out, and he said that was a comfortable day, and so. It felt like every swing he had on Sunday was with authority, and we'll get to that. But yeah, I'm with you on that. It is refreshing for a coaching staff to come out and take blame, for something like that, because we probably talked about it, me and you, whether on here or not. That it is partly their fault, right?
It is. Yeah.
You've got to identify that and fix that quicker. But yeah, I agree with you. And 2, Chang has been really good at shortstop. We can go ahead and go over to Saturday if you want to, because he's smooth, man. There was a double play where
really good.
The feed from Luke Keel and the transfer were about as quick and clean as I've seen. It was a small thing that I noticed that was just, it was just like boom, and it was out. It was good.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and dive into Saturday now. Wrapping up Friday real quick. Like I said, Will Furness hit his first home run of the year. Luke Hill and Isaac Humphreys both ended up logging stolen bases as well. That seems to be a part of this Ole Miss offensive identity, is running more, as we saw as the weekend ended up progressing. But going into Saturday here, let's go ahead and start there with Luke Chain, because another one of my theories coming into this weekend, which was automatically proven wrong right off the jump, or at least proved wrong on Saturday. I thought maybe we were saving Luke Chain for Sundays to give Pano a breather, and maybe that's the overall thought. Maybe they thought Pano had such a rough go with things that they go ahead and give him his breather on Saturday instead of Sunday. But just because
lefty
defensively, right?
Yeah, right. Well, and the lefty went on Saturday too, so that made sense getting him in there, getting Chang in there on Saturday instead of Sunday.
Yeah. Well, he had a lefty going Sunday as well, too, if I'm not mistaken. Had two lefties on the weekend. The transfer from Tennessee, I believe, was a lefty on Sunday. But either way, Chang 1 for 4 again plays a really, really good shortstop. That's what you know you're going to get out of him day in and day out every time he's in the lineup. I don't think Pano's in any sort of trouble of losing his job or anything there, his starting role. But Chang has been really good every time he's been inserted there. Looking throughout the rest of the lineup, this is our first look at Hayden Federico on the weekend, and he had a pretty blah game by Hayden Federico standards. And for him to be a true freshman and go 1 for 3 and that be a blah game by his standards, that means he's been pretty damn good so far this year. 1 for 3, 1 walk, 2 RBIs, and a run. I think he's hitting well over 600 so far this year. And then once again, our guy Luke Hill does nothing but hit 3 for 4, 2 runs, 1 RBI, 1 walk. Let's see, it ends up hitting a home run, steals another base. Federico with the stolen base as well. And then Ryan Moorman with the home run, Colin Reuter with the home run. Kind of felt like it was never in doubt, regardless of what the score said. It's like the score finished closer than what it really felt like while you were watching it, right?
Yeah, for sure. It felt like our offense could pretty much score a run whenever they wanted to on Saturday there, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of looking down through there, Moorman 2 for 4, Isaac Humphreys 1 for 2. Again, Mitchell Sanford 2 for 5. This is what I was talking about. He starts getting going a little bit as the weekend goes on. RBI and a run there. Colin Reuter 1 for 5 with the home run. Talking to Chang. Looking at the pitching side, Riley Maddox bounced back really well here in his second start of the year. 5 innings of shutout ball, only 3 hits allowed, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. 75 pitches over those 5 innings. Got to look at the freshman here, Cade Townsend. Stuff's really good. Obviously needs time to get a little more experience, though, as he goes 1 inning, 3 earned runs on 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, and also had a hit by pitch. Only threw or ended up throwing 26 pitches in his 1 frame of work. And then we finally got to see our guy Braden Jones hitch, guy we've been talking about leading into the season. Really impressed with him last year. Comes in and just throws a perfect inning. 1 inning, no hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. He was absolutely nails for us. What did you see out of Braden Jones, a guy that me and you both expect to be a really big part, potentially on the back end of this bullpen?
Yeah, I got the Hunter Elliott vibe from Braden Jones on Saturday night, right? Like I felt like at one point he looked and went just like, yeah, I've got it tonight, right? But yeah, Braden Jones has been a big part of the bullpen for, since he was a freshman. And I think just he is progressively, whether he's getting stronger or something that Mangum's done, right? He just, every year it seems to his velocity ticks up a little bit. And he's added that cutter, which is so gross and unfair. To add that to already 98, and then the breaking pitch he's got. But Riley Maddox, going back to him just really quickly, a small thing that I've noticed about him is this year he is working both sides of the plate with that fastball, and it is he threw a couple of pitches on Saturday right on the outside corner that were ridiculous. And we got so used to him last year throwing that 2-seamer in on their hands and getting it underneath their hands and getting ground balls. And this year, of course, the competition will get better. But this year, it felt like on Saturday his out pitch or his strikeout pitch was fastball outside corner instead of fastball in on your hands or slider or slurve, whatever he throws away.
Yeah,
right?
the big bender that he had. Yeah, the sweeper.
Yeah. And I was it was so great to see because, man, when you start working both sides of the plate with all of your pitches, then it's a really he's in for a special year, and if he's doing that
so.
well, and all the work Mangrum has done, I'm really looking forward to seeing this staff go through this SEC schedule.
Yeah, me too. After Braden Jones, a guy, Patrick Galley, came in, and this is a guy with all the stuff in the world, right? And one thing I noticed from him, when you saw him last year, it was 98, 98, 98, then a slider, and then 98, 98, 98, 98 again. Again, kind of like you said, they've made him throw a cutter here. 90 to 92, 93 mile an hour cutter that is just absolutely devastating when you have to have that slider in the back of your mind, as well as a guy that can run it up to triple digits as well. Kind of the same thing with him as it's always been. It didn't bite him in this start. He did a good job keeping the ball over the plate, throwing strikes, which is what you want to do as opposed to walking guys, which he did a lot of last year. Had a lot of control issues last year. You saw the stuff, saw how dominant he could be. If we keep getting this from Patrick Galley, he could end up being a massive, massive part of this bullpen with that new cutter that he's throwing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same story as with Braden Jones. I mean, Galley with that cutter is you said it. I don't have to repeat it. But yeah, I think he's going to be huge. He that the one kid ran into one. It looked like he was just, and while I say ran into one, to give the kid credit, I mean, he had a heck of an at bat. I think it was a long at bat. He saw a lot of fastballs. He finally got one about chest high that he ran into and hit it a long way. And my prediction is that kid's going to be a Rebel next year.
He very well could be. We'll have to look up after we get done recording, see if he has any eligibility left or not. If he does, we'll go ahead and tweet it out so we can take credit for it when the offseason comes around. Wrapping up this Saturday game, I'm not real sure what else you can say about him that hadn't been said already. Walker Hooks, true freshman from Brandon, comes in. Another perfect outing, 1 inning, no hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. The big true freshman lefty is just absolutely dynamite on the mound. Can't wait for him to get more experience under his belt and maybe see what he has when we get into SEC play as well. But it looks like he's going to be a dynamic arm as well.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him first weekend, right, in a situation. You see him second weekend. I mean, you're starting to see, you're starting to see who we're going to – yeah, you're starting to see who you're going to see on the weekends. As him being a freshman tells us, he probably had a pretty good fall, and we've already seen what he can do on the mound, against, some pretty decent competition. So,
Yep, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and turn our attention to Sunday real quick. A game the Rebels ended up winning 9-3. Mason Nichols ends up picking up the win here, going 4 innings. How did he end up getting the win with only pitching 4 innings? You know that one? You know that rule?
I don't know. Maybe for college. Well, maybe college is 4 innings.
Yeah, maybe so. So that'd be the first I'd heard of it, though. But anyway, 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Pretty good outing for Mason here. Not really anything that I can nitpick here. He went out there, he attacked guys. He didn't put them on base. Like I said, only 1 walk, 2 wild pitches. I would argue that at best it was 1 wild pitch, but I digress a little bit there. Maybe one, probably both of them should have stayed in front of the catcher. But hopefully that's not going to be an issue this year. It is something I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about because I'm starting to see it a little bit too much. Balls getting to the backstop that I don't think should get there. But we've got a long way to go. Maybe we'll see some improvement there as the year goes on. But was there anything from Mason that you noticed here that stood out for you? I just thought overall it was a typical Mason Nichols start where he went out there, was real solid, did his job, and got out of there.
Mason Nickled.
Yes.
That's all I have
That's
to
exactly
say.
right. That's all it is. Ryan Rodriguez comes in. Another good start to the year for him. Only pitches 2/3 of an inning, 11 pitches there. Doesn't allow any hits, runs, anything like that. Hudson Calhoun comes in. Inning in the third, 2 walks, only 1 hit, but no runs, 2 strikeouts. I think Hudson has pitched pretty well in the 2 appearances. I think he's been in 2 games so far. I think he's pitched pretty well so far in those 2 appearances. Got to cut down on the walk. So it's one thing he didn't do in the summer was walk anybody. That's starting to pop up a little bit early on in the season. But again, it's early, it's cold. Not everybody's going to be able to come out there hot and keep the ball in the strike zone every single time. I think Hudson's going to be just fine and could be another big arm. And this is the one that I've waited all show to get to, Rich, because I know you're going to love it just as much as I do. Our guy, Sam Tikoian, Toucan Sam, 1 inning pitched, and the rare 4 strikeout in 1 inning.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, man. He came out and just, it was almost a look on his face, like, just give me the ball and let me take care of business. Right. And he just
needed it after last weekend too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Which is it's a good thing to see a bounce back like that, because we have seen very good Rebel pitchers start out that way and never find it. So it's good, to see him come out and just, he didn't look, it looked like he had taken that game the last week and just put it out of his head, and just came in and started throwing strikes. And if he's in the strike zone, right, I mean, he's good. He's very good.
Very good. The stuff plays at this level. There's no doubt about that. He's got an electric arm. Freshman Owen Hancock came in, struggled a little bit, 1/3 of an inning, 1 hit, 2 earned, 2 walks. Again, if you take the walks out of the equation, then he's probably in pretty good shape to maybe get out of that without giving up any earned runs, but that's not how this works. He's going to learn that as he gets more experience under his belt. We got to keep throwing him out there, whether it be midweeks in relief, something like that, or in games like this that were already in hand. But certainly a talented kid. Got to keep getting him work and see if there's anything that he can give you throughout the year one way or another. Landon Waters, that was a pretty impressive performance by him as well. That was the second time we've seen him. He looked good again on Sunday. Inning and 2/3, only 1 hit allowed, 2 strikeouts. Kind of what we keep saying over and over again. I know we're repetitive. Come in, throw strikes, let your stuff play, and more times than not, you're going to be okay. So I just wanted to point Landon Waters out there, as I thought that was another pretty good performance by him coming into the game. Let's see, on the offensive side of the ball, again, we'll start out with Hayden Federico, actually playing in the field this time, though, out in left field, 3 for 4, 2 runs scored. Ends up stealing home in this one as well. Again, I'm not sure what else we can say about Hayden. Just an absolutely dynamite player that has had one hell of a start to his college career. Luke Hill, again, 1 for 4 with a walk, 2 runs scored. He just keeps hitting Isaac Humphreys, 1 for 2, 3 more walks. It can't be understated how important it is, especially in that 3 hole. If you're not going to have a guy that's going to hit, 325 and 16, 17 bombs, at least have a guy that's going to get on base. And Isaac Humphreys, he's hit a home run already this year. He's been stealing bases, steals another bases here on Sunday, but he gets on base. He walks, he makes contact. I just think he has done a really, really good job here so far in the early going here for Ole Miss. Ron Mormon, 1 for 3 with an RBI. Again, 2 walks between him, Luke Hill, and Isaac Humphreys. That's 6 walks between your 2, 3, and 4 guy. That's going to end up playing as long as you can get some production behind them. And then here he is again, Mitchell Sanford, 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. Just a really good weekend overall for him. Will Furness goes 0 for 4. Udermark 1 for 4. Campbell Smithwick 1 for 3 with his first home run of the year. And this was the game where Owen Pano really made solid contact on a couple of balls that just unfortunately found a defender. That was the first time I thought, okay, he's looking better at the plate. Maybe this is where he turns it around going forward. And we'll find out hopefully starting tomorrow night against Southern Miss. Who all stood out to you throughout the lineup of everybody I just called out there, Hitch?
Yeah, I mean, Fast Guy Fetty again. I mean, not only did he lead off and just put together what I'm assuming are 4 more quality at-bats, made a hell of a play in the outfield. I mean, they kept saying it over the broadcast is, he's played himself into the lineup, but I mean, like that's a saying that you say in baseball. It's like, you hit your way into the lineup. It's like, I mean, but literally, how do you not
He's
have him
done
in the
that.
lineup? Yeah, I mean, he's like literally done the thing that we, strive for. And so him, Luke Hill, right? Isaac Humphrey, you can't say enough again about the patience in front of someone, especially like Ryan Moorman, who is hitting the ball so
incredible.
well. And so what you're trying to do as a pitcher is you're nibbling at guys like Moorman who are really hot to start the season, and you're trying to hit corners, and you're taking the danger of walking him by getting him to swing at something. But you've got Humphrey in front of him walking every other at bat, or every at bat, essentially. Like you can't do that. And so, a walk, when you think about it like that, is a walk is more than just a guy getting on base. It is protection for the guys behind them too. His pitch recognition must be so good, because there are times when he is in a hitter's count, right? And he just, the balls he takes are really good pitches. And so can't say enough about him taking those walks. But I mean, other than that, right? Smith would get a laser. Pano hit some balls hard. It really, again, it felt like the offense Saturday and Sunday, it felt like there were a lot of good swings. Whereas coming into the weekend, especially at that Arkansas State game, and then the game Friday night where it was cold, just didn't feel like a lot of good swings. I think the story of the weekend almost was Saturday and Sunday, the offense kind of opened up a little bit, and it felt like got some really good swings. Whereas, Friday night, that wasn't the case.
Yeah. And then just kind of wrapping it up here on Sunday, stolen bases, Hayden Federico, Isaac Humphries, Ryan Moorman. I sent you a message on Sunday after that Ryan Moorman steal that we're just going to run with whoever's on first base, and I couldn't wait to see Will Furnace take off when he got on base.
I know.
Ended up not happening, but that was going to be a lot of fun if we got Big Will out there chugging down to second base on a steal attempt. So I was really looking forward to that. I hate we weren't able to get it. We'll go ahead and move on, though. Rebels, as we said, win 3. Get into the top 25, enter at number 24, I believe it is. Big matchup at Swayze. If you're around the Oxford area, it's going to be really nice weather on Tuesday evening. First pitch at 4 o'clock. They get Southern Miss. I believe they're number 21. They entered the rankings as well this weekend. They're coming off of a win against Mississippi State in the midweek last week. They take 2 out of 3 out of La Tech. Right before we started, they did announce starting pitchers. Our guy, Will McCausland, will be towing the rubber for the Rebels hitch, and they are going to be throwing McCarty English, a guy that's only thrown 2/3 of an inning so far this year against Lafayette University. Really struggled, 2/3 of an inning, 3 earned, 2 walks, 1 hit by pitch, and 1 walk. But he's going to be a righty that comes out to start things against the Rebels. They do have a couple of bats. Joey Urban in center field's back to 429 with a home run, a triple, and 2 doubles so far this year. And then Ozzie Pratt, the shortstop, he's hitting 379 with a home run and 3 doubles so far this year. This is a dangerous team, a team that can jump up and bite you. They're ranked in the top 25 for a reason. Look, it's a good baseball program. It has been for a very long time. This will be a good test for Will McCausland, and almost an audition a little bit against a top-tier team to see if maybe he can handle a potential Sunday role if we decide we need to move Nichols back to the bullpen at some point. Not because Nichols hasn't been good, just because of how good we know he is out of the bullpen if somebody can lock it down. So I'll be looking for that as well.
Yeah, I like the McCausland start. I mean, not that Canny didn't do his job this past Tuesday.
Yeah, he was good.
But I think that the way McCausland pitched in Arlington kind of earned him a shot at Tuesdays as well, at least that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that announcement, I was like, yeah, not that it matters, but I was like, yeah, that's the right choice.
Yeah, Yeah, and it sets up next week because we get 2 midweeks next week. We play Tuesday and Wednesday, so you'll get to see one of each next weekend as this will be a good start for McCausland and to see if he can handle a top tier team, one of the top 25 teams in the country. Looking at Wright State here, this is a team that's 2-3 overall. They got swept at Auburn this past weekend. But they're a team that they won the Horizon Conference title in the regular season last year, lost in the tournament, so they did not get the NCAA tournament bid, but they were 20-10 overall in their conference, projected to win their conference again this year. They have the projected Horizon Player of the Year on their team, Boston Smith, the senior catcher. He does it all. He hits for average, hits for power, plays really good defense, and has a big arm on him if you try to run. This is an outstanding player that, quite frankly, I'm kind of surprised in this new era of NIL and everything else, the way college athletics is, that he ended up staying put there at Wright State. He's a really, really good player. And then they have a freshman second baseman, Hunter Warren, who has played every game so far this year. He's batting .526 on the year. This is a team that really hits the ball. They used to be a big pitching school. They could really throw it. That fell off last year. Looks like that's fallen off again this year. They haven't had a ton of success, but the last couple of years they've really hit it well. And you see that with some of the early numbers here in the first couple of weeks. Patrick Fultz, the junior third baseman, hitting .429 as well, and he has also played every game so far this year. So that's 3 guys that can really swing it, that have played every game, and they've also played a series at Auburn. So coming to Swayze Field is not going to be something that's new to them. They've been on the road. They literally haven't played a home game yet this year, and won't for the next couple of weeks. They've been on the road the entire time. One thing they do struggle with is pitching, though. Ole Miss going to want to get into this bullpen, try to get deep into it, because their starters did not give them a lot of depth last weekend. Friday night guy Griffin Page only made it 2 innings, giving up 6 earned. Saturday, Jarrett Heilman only made it 2 1/3, giving up 3 earned. And then Chet Lax on Sunday gave them their best outing of the weekend, going 3 innings, giving up 3 earned. So Ole Miss is going to try to tee off on these starter pitchers, get into that bullpen, and really try to put some runs on board. It'd be a good time for this offense to get going.
Yeah, I hope so. The way that those numbers that you're throwing out around there, really feels like a hit party. And I think that's what a team needs, right? Like going into division play or the SEC play over the next couple of weeks is like you want everybody at their highest confidence. I expect where they must be somewhere where it's cold or it's snowing or something, I guess.
Ohio, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense why they hadn't played a home game. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but they play in Ohio for the midweek next week against Miami of Ohio.
Okay, well that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But all right.
No sense, right? Yeah. But look, this is hopefully going to be 3 wins for the Rebels, though. A team that's highly thought of from a conference standpoint in the Horizon. Shouldn't be able to compete with Ole Miss, though, here on the road. Before we get out of here, Hitch, we've got to give our players of the weekend. Who did you end up landing on this weekend? Who impressed you?
I'm going with Ryan Mormon because I don't think he got the love that he should have got. Not that he didn't, but he had a really good weekend, last weekend. And then it carried over, into this weekend. I think a guy that came in when you and I talked about him, we knew he had a lot of pop. He's going to hit some bombs, going to drive some runs in. But there was some strikeout in there in that swing. And man, I mean, he's 7 for 24, 6 RBIs already, and 2 home runs. Bombs. Right. Yeah. And, it feels like he's really turning into a guy at the plate who you want up in a big situation because, he's going to put the ball in play. And quite frankly, he hit a ball this weekend that was smashed to the left side. But that's it. I'm going with Ryan Mormon. There's a lot of players that probably deserved it, but I was impressed by the way that he continued that hot start last weekend, right? Like it didn't tail off this weekend. He continued that. So going with him.
Here. Yeah, I'm actually glad you went with him because he was one of the guys I was thinking about. But since you took him, I will be able to go with the guy that I really wanted to, and that's Mitchell Sanford. Just because I think it's really important that his bat keeps going because he's such a good defensive center fielder. The glove's going to keep him in there. But if you can get something out of him offensively, just anything remotely close to what you saw last year at New Orleans, kind of feels like he's getting it going a little bit. So I was really encouraged to see all the hits pile up for him this weekend. Obviously,
it's so funny.
Federico,
it's so funny
Isaac Humphries, Luke Hill. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
that's who I was. He was the other one that I was gonna choose too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been talking baseball with each other for over 20 years now, so it's probably no shock that we end up on the same two players, right? But obviously, a lot of guys played really well this weekend, though. But that was the one as Sunday came to a close. I thought, man, it feels like he had a really good weekend. Then when I went back and looked at it, it confirmed that he did, and I just think that's huge for him to get going at the plate. Obviously, Isaac Humphries going, Mormon, those transfer outfielders, they're really starting to produce for Ole Miss, so that's a really good sign early on. Hopefully, they're able to keep it going. Again, tomorrow night at Swayze against Southern Miss. That's a 4:00 first pitch. Get there if you can. And then against Wright State this weekend, I believe Friday's 4:00, Saturday's 4:00, and then Sunday's 1:30. And it's going to be beautiful weather all weekend, so it'll be another good weekend take-in baseball. If you're around the Oxford area, you get Ole Miss basketball at, I believe, 1:30 on Saturday against Oklahoma. So you can go to the Pavilion, check out the basketball game, and then walk over to Swayze for first pitch at 4:00 on Saturday, and you can make a day of it. That'd be a big time. So, Hitch, appreciate you joining me here again, buddy, and we will get together once again over the weekend, something like that, and hopefully be talking about another sweep next time we're on here.
4 more wins. Hotty toddy.